budget at all. We've been looking at it, working on it, trying to figure out what to do. This is a very unusual budget. For those of you who don't know, this is probably the biggest increase in a year in a budget that's ever happened in Montgomery. Montgomery normally runs 3 or 4% increase in revenue. This year increased about almost 10%, okay? And when you got that big a difference, all your numbers are different. So it challenges everybody to say how you doing, where you going in the future, because the future's not, we have to project the future. We don't know. So a lot of questions on the council about projecting the future. A lot of folks across the country we could talk to decide how we project the money in the future, because we don't want things to go in this budget and then 6 months down the road and have to take it back. So a lot of concern about that and about the money. It's not, so this council has worked very hard to decide how to make sure this budget is a very good budget that's sound for the city for the long run. So that's what's been going on. No votes, just a lot of talk. So I want to make sure you all understand there's been no vote, no council member committed either way. They're just trying to figure out the best thing to make a solid budget for the city of Montgomery for the future. And your jobs. I mean, we go do something that jeopardize your job in the future, that's not very good. So this council is thinking very thoroughly about that. Anyway, let's get started, council. First thing on the agenda this afternoon is the budget. And what we need to do is I think we need to put it on the floor. And then we got amendments. I know we got amendments to the budget. So we need to take those amendments as a group. So we need to, somebody needs to make a motion to approve the budget, and then we'll go for amendments. I need a motion to approve.
Mr. President, so moved.
All right, now we got the budget on the floor. Now I need to know amendments to the budget. I first of all got a couple here that you see in front of you that from my standpoint where you would move money out of miscellaneous. It doesn't change the bottom line of the budget. We're just going to take $175,000 out of miscellaneous funds and put $100,000 in the mental health authority, raising them to $700,000 a year, and then put $75,000 in child protect. That's just simple amendment there that doesn't affect the budget other than just moves the money around we know we got mental health issue in the city, and we know that child protect helps our police department with the child abuse that goes on in our city and our area. So those two are very necessary, I think, to do. So I'd like to have a motion to approve this particular amendment. Okay? Can you give me a motion?
Mr. President.
Yeah.
On that mental health piece.
Yeah.
If you recall, we were discussing trying to get that. I can take the mask off. We were discussing trying to get that $100K from the state of Alabama because our regional partners are not helping out the city and the county, and so we increased that in the budget from about 520 something to 600,000 already. So we've already gone up year over year, and what we discussed was making sure that we could get that 100,000 from the state because of the lack of regional support from those other partner counties.
Do you think we'll get the part from the state?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. Well, I accept that. I know they need the money because they got the new event and trying to really address that. So I would
could not agree more with you.
Yeah, they asked for more than that. They asked for more than 100,000. And I understand, and I've watched mental health over the years, but I think we're better off today where we're headed with the new facilities we've got in mental health than we've ever been.
Yep.
Even though, as you know from being in your previous job, how bad the mental health issue is here. So, I would accept. I'd cut it back to 50,000. Okay.
All right. So we're gonna do 50.
And we're gonna cut the numbers back. We'll cut mental health back to 650,000. 650.
And the 75,000.
And then 75 to child protect. So it means you got 125 out of decreased to 125 instead of 175. Okay. That means you add, and then the new balance will be 375,000. Okay.
All right.
Everybody understand? Okay, I need a motion to adopt this.
Mr. President, move to adopt.
Okay, all in favor, raise your hand.
Unanimous.
Okay. All right, next amendments. Mr. Pruitt, you got amendments?
Yes, sir. Ms. Blaylock, will you read the first two amendments, please?
On page 13, grants, remove the item completely, decreasing $294,132. On page 22, economic development, remove the item completely, decreasing $223,182. And on page 24 and 25, add to sanitation salaries, $517,314.
Council, Mr. Mayor, in the increases for the employees, I think it's great. I think it's wonderful, and I think it's something that we need to do. The only concern is why I took these two out and put it into sanitation, because I do know that they are short-staffed. I do know that they work till 6 and 7 o'clock sometimes, and I know it has to do with equipment issues, but it also has to do with personnel. So that's why I moved these to sanitation department. Can I make a motion to adopt, Mr. Jenright?
Yeah, let me, any, Maddie, you got,
I got a question.
okay.
Mr.
Mr. Calhoun, Mr. Calhoun.
Mr. Pruitt, I'm just asking a question. What is sanitation funded for now in the budget, Betty, on the increase in their part two?
I'm sorry, I did not understand what you were saying.
What did we fund them for in the budget on part two as far as the increase what Mr. Dickey asked for? How many employees additional?
There were 7 new driver positions and 7 service maintenance workers and
So you
1
got 14 new
clerk
people,
So
that
fi-
were added
over
to
and
this.
above you.
So
Yes, it's
15,
included in this budget.
okay, 15 new employees.
And they requested 25.
15 new employees, right?
In total, yes.
In total, okay.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that you all understand that the grants department already has 1 employee in it. And we're in the process of getting an announcement out for the 2nd employee. So if we don't have a grants department, we're gonna have to do something about the employee that's already there. We have a grants coordinator who is well worth her money. She's out there searching every day for grants that we can apply for here in the city of Montgomery, and so far she's found $37 million in grants.
30, how much?
$37 million.
I think we need to keep that position.
That's a good return on investment.
Oh, $37 million, what area is
Where,
that?
where does that $37 million go?
Well, it's various areas, and I don't have the spreadsheet in front of me.
Oh, okay.
But it's grants that the city could use those
Is she
funds.
here?
She's not, she's out of town this
Well, let
week,
me-
all
let me-
week long.
Let me add to your situation. I know for a fact that the mayor and I were on the phone with our lobbyist in Washington not too long ago. We know there's over $1 million worth of money for blighted property available in Washington that the new coordinator knows about. So that would triple her salary right there. No, I mean, a lot more than that, 10 times her salary. And return on investment. So it's a big return in that one particular thing. And I know that a lot of our districts need it bad. And it was no match money from the city at all. It was a flat grant for the entire amount. And it's all about blighted property worked out with the statistics that are coming from D.C. on this stuff. It's not just one city that got it. But I know that we need that in our blighted properties. We don't have enough money. I think in the budget, we got $500,000 to tear down blighted properties this year. And we probably need 5 times that. So a grant must,
Wait, I got a question. Where we paying her from now? Because this budget ain't passed. What department she being paid out of now?
Currently,
Yeah.
she's in a finance department.
Y'all don't have the revenue to continue keeping her?
In our department, it's
Yeah.
not in this budget, no. That's why we created the grants department, so that we could get a grants coordinator, a grants writer, and a grants accountant.
Let me say this. I understand exactly where Mr. Pruitt is coming from, because in District 4, I get a lot of calls about this sanitation department, about how stuff is still on the street. And I get it. Y'all have to work hard and storms come and stuff like that. But when they say it's out there 3 and 4 weeks, they're convinced, my district, they are convinced that East Montgomery don't wait 4 weeks to get trash picked up. I don't ride East Montgomery, so I don't know that.
I do.
can't say.
I do. We wait 4 weeks too.
Let me say this though. So I can't say that, but I'm telling you what my people call me and say, right? So I know you do what you can do, but I agree with Pruitt. Y'all need help. You need more people, and that's what he's trying to do, give more people to this department. And I think we need to do that. We need to figure out a way to increase how many people we can hire in sanitation. 15 is not what you asked for, so that's not obviously what you need, so we need to increase it. I agree with Pruitt on that. I mean, I get it, okay. We need the grants writer. I'm not saying we don't need her. You know, I'm not going to say that, but I do agree with Pruitt. We need to increase it so that we can hire more people in this department and fire or whoever else he was trying to get the money to. But they need more money. They need more people because we are not doing what we need to do as a city. It looks horrible in certain areas. In my area, it was horrible just recently, and they had the street maintenance crew come out, and they cut back some ditches. I didn't even know the sidewalk went that far because the grass was so overgrown. That's just how horrible it looked for so long. And so, I mean, and it took forever for him to get out there and do it. It took somebody complaining. I think Chris Conway said he went by and was like, I'm going to send a crew out there, and then it got done. But outside of that, it just looks bad because they can't make it over there because it's just not enough people for the area that they have to serve. They need more people.
Councilor Graham, I understand from the budget meetings that Mr. Dickey mentioned that his biggest problem was trying to find people qualified to fill those positions. And I think with the pay increase that is in this proposed budget, that is going
You
to be
still
something
need
that will
more
bring,
people.
they will bring them in.
Okay, so let's create the slots for them. So once they get this pay increase, then we'll have slots to get them in there.
And
Because we're going to be still operating at the same rate, doing the same job for more money.
Let me say this. You know, as it relates to sanitation, what we're trying to do and what we proposed in June was to make them the #1 paid sanitation department in the state. It's 19% pay increase. So a big part of the issue is retention. It's not it's not the amount of heads. It's being able to keep the heads that you have. In part because we weren't paying them what we need to pay them.
So the work don't change. The work don't change.
No, here's what we're saying.
Excuse me?
Here's what we're saying. What we're saying is we understand what the ask was at 25. So most of the time your departments will ask for, a good number of head count. What we try to do is to meet the balance of what they're asking for and also the financial impact that we're trying to make. So if you add the 15 heads and then you take the 19% increase, we believe that we will have the retention that's necessary to be able to address a lot of the issues. Now, some of this stuff is not just on manpower alone. Some of it is in the community, all of our communities, all of our streets, all of our districts. So some of it is on the citizens themselves that we have to do a better job at. We've got some efforts in here to address with the Clean City Commission as well to get more active as well from the trash standpoint. So it's not all on any one person or any one group. It's much like some of the challenges we see in public safety. We can't have someone on every corner to stop everything. Now, we want to make sure PD gets what's needed. We want to make sure that fire and rescue gets what's needed, but some of it comes back to the individual accountability. And so that's what we're trying to meet here with the pay raise and adding the heads. If you add the maximum amount of heads, that's not the issue. You're still not addressing it, because you have to make sure that they're being paid so that we can retain them once we get them there. Mr. Pruitt, if I can just very quickly say to one of your questions, I think it would not be in the city's best interest to redline the economic development department or director's position. We don't have, and we've never, shouldn't say never, but in the last 20 some odd years, we haven't had a standalone economic developer within the city. In our conversations, both with the business community as well as the small business leaders here, there's a thought that we need that. A lot of you all have talked about retail corridors and commercial corridors that are abandoned, and we've seen the shift. The main goal of what we've been trying to do in hiring, well, we haven't hired yet, but in searching for an economic development director is someone who is skilled in that. That's not what the Chamber of Commerce is really skilled in doing. They have acknowledged that. we need a tactician that can help us with our corridors around the entire city, as well as helping build out our small business and entrepreneurial footprint. So that's what we're looking for with the Economic Development Director, and we're down to the last two. I just got off a call at 2:57 with a former mayor who worked with one as a reference. So we've got great ability there, and we think that is needed to help us holistically as a city take that and bring it inside City Hall so that they are then working with inspections, they're then working with community development, neighborhood services, as well as planning to come up with a better economic development footprint for the entire city and not just a member-driven industrial recruitment strategy that the chamber and most of the city has operated on for quite some time.
And Mayor, I completely agree. I wish we'd have done an economic development director in the past. So, but in saying that though, you know, $2.5 million or whatever we give the chamber every single year, you know, if they're not skilled, I would get skilled at being a retail or commercial development in economic, or take $233,000 from the chamber and start our own economic. Not arguing the fact we don't need one.
So it's not an either or scenario. When you think about the chamber, what we've got to consider is that our chamber is not funded, even though it's funded differently, it's not funded to the same capacity as a Birmingham Business Alliance or as a Huntsville chamber. So when we think about things that we've all discussed in terms of why we don't have certain things, some of it is because, again, we haven't put that investment where it's needed. I think what is important is that the chamber continues to do what it does well, to promote tourism, to promote this city, and to try to bring outside events here that help our tourism, which then creates jobs. It creates revenue for our small businesses, for our restaurants, for our hotels. That is an industry that we see every month when we see those lodging taxes come in. So that helps fund city government. It helps fund what we're doing here. What we're looking for out of the Economic Development Director is a specialist, someone that can not only look at things from the outside in, but also inside out to tell us what needs to change so that developers feel very good about this being a city that is pro-growth and is one that is proactive in terms of the processes that need to be refined, but also that can talk to y'all about the various corridors day in and day out that we're trying to bring retail in, that we're trying to attract development to. What incentives do we need to offer? What abatements do we need to bring about? That's what we're looking for from our Economic Development Director. What do we need to change in the zoning? Because maybe this street or maybe this area is not the commercial space it once was. Can we repurpose it? Can we reimagine it so that we can do some different things in a city that land-wise is much larger than its population might suggest? So we've got a lot of unused parcels. We've got a lot of underdeveloped parcels. And the things that we've gotten out of the finalists now for the Economic Development Director is that they are very well knowledge about the abatements, about the incentives that can be offered, as well as ways to bring about growth and development in some struggling areas. And we think that's the best thing for them. Not necessarily saying that the chamber has done a bad job there, it's just not their specialty. And that was something that we talked about again coming in. We tabled that last year because of the budget, because of COVID. We didn't bring that up, but that was very clear in terms of the community coming out of the transition report and the economic development piece that came out of those transition meetings with the community.
Mr. Jenright and Mayor, I hear it, and I'll pull those two amendments, and we'll just agree to disagree on it. I mean, for $2.5 million, I think the 2.5 ballpark what we give the chamber, I think we're duplicating, or we should take some of it.
Well,
and I'll pull the amendment. I've heard what you said, and I respect it. We'll just agree to disagree. But
That's fair.
you know, I just
Mr. Pruitt, let me just say, Mac McLeod was in that
I
job
don't
before,
understand it.
and we did a lot of work on Dexter. Okay.
Sir,
Mac McLeod was in that job before. He was kind of part-time, but he had all the experience. And that's what we really need, you know, somebody like that
next.
again. Let's go. Okay.
President,
Next thing.
Ms. Blaylock.
The second part, page 13 and 14, 12, Department of Violence Prevention, remove item completely, decreasing $539,067. And on page 28, adding into fire salaries, that same amount.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor and council, it's the exact same thing. Now, I know we hadn't hired anybody in this department. And again, the fire department, we're going to give a substantial increase to, and one of the issues that they have in the fire department that I know firsthand is that they're being held over during the work week. If you work your first 24, there's probably a 75 to 90% chance you're going to ask to be stayed because we are short-staffed. And hopefully, this pay increase helps the fire department, but I also think we need to give Chief Jordan, and that's my opinion, that we need to give him some more manpower. It's pretty much similar to what we just talked about a minute ago with sanitation.
Okay.
Is the chief here? Is he somewhere? The amount for new employees at about 60, is that what I heard last week? Okay, so what would the new scale?
69,000, roughly.
69,000.
This will give you about 8 or 9 additional
So yeah,
firefighters.
probably seven and a half. We'd have to cut somebody in half.
The new scale is 69,000.
Yeah. So that's yeah, okay. Chief, how many we've short in the fire department? Because we get a ton of overtime, and for us to cut that out, if we got, would we have $5 million this year in overtime or something like that?
No, it wasn't budgeted. That's just how much it's cost you so far is $5.3 million. This department, the way it stands today, required 490 people to run it. Over the years, 20 years, we've been attrition out. Say in 1999, we were 460 personnel. And so we were attrition out somewhere in the 400. We're funded today for 407, but the call volume has gone up probably 3 times as much. In 1999, we were probably doing 18,000, 20,000 calls, somewhere about. Today, we're doing 42 plus thousand calls.
Most of those medic calls.
88% plus is EMS call.
Wow.
And on an average day, how
I don't know.
many firemen do you have employed? After the folks that are off sick or off in military training, all those things that you have a constant attrition of.
Say that again, Mr.
You have about 20, at any one time you got 20 off.
Well,
Is it not?
I can answer this like this. On an average, we have to have about 25, maybe on average, every day.
That are not there, not
That's
available.
not there. That's a combination of not having the staffing, military leave, family medical leave, and all the things that happen to a large department. We have to hire 25 plus members every day for staff.
Okay.
Chief, how many, I know in my notes, I see where you said in training, you can have 39 to 40 in training. How many of those firemen really would complete that training to actually become certified firemen through our academy?
Well, the 37 I think we have today, we expect those people to graduate.
Okay.
I think next week on October 6th, which you are invited, we will graduate 15. And then the other will graduate the first of the year. We also have planned to hire 28 to 30 the last of October. But that is just only half of the battle. These are firefighters. But the EMS, it takes another 18 months to go to paramedic school. That's a whole nother challenge. So 90% of the calls are EMS. You know, we'll hire 37 in, but that still doesn't fix the other battle. And so now we have to find a way to get the individual that wants to continue the education to go on and be paramedics.
Yeah. So the 8 increase that's proposed here would not change the way you operate within the next 12 months.
And what was the increase?
I guess the proposal is for 500,000, which would give you about 8 or 6 to 8 more employees if this line item was to pass. That would not affect your bottom line of your operation in this year.
I don't quite understand. I'll take any amount that I can get.
I know you will.
Extra half a million.
I know you will.
Thank you, Chief.
Give you
I mean,
6 or 8
because
there.
the thing about it is we want to get to 490. We could use 490 today. So you're gonna give me 6 or 8 more, I take that.
So you're saying every number
Every
helps
number
you?
count. Every number, if I get one more person, that's one more person at Christmas time that I got to tell to stay on Christmas Day. So any number that get me close to 490, I'm gonna take it. I'm here representing my firefighters. Now, thank the good Lord that I'm blessed from 7:30 to 4:30. I'm gonna be home hopefully on Christmas Day, but our supervisor got to tell someone to stay on this district. There's no doubt
Okay.
about it.
Chief, let me ask you a question. How many medics do we need? How many medics? I know firefighters, and I know the medics is the 18-month process. How many of those do we need? If we were fully staffed in that realm, because that's the bulk of your 88% of your calls, how many would we need?
Okay, you need about 15, we have 15 ALS units. So you need 15, so 45 medics minimum for A, B, and C shift. But there's another problem, is you got burnout, okay? So hypothetically, we want to be 50% EMS, which would be 200 people.
How many we have now?
In that field, you probably have about 70, maybe, that working in the field, because paramedics is across the board in the chief ranks and all that too, which does not work out in the field.
Yeah. Wow.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you, Chief.
So that's 427.
Oh, no, it's broken.
340 was about.
Mr. President, do I need to make a motion?
Yeah, you do.
Mr. President.
Yes, sir.
Let me offer a comment very quick. What is this motion? I'm sorry I don't have the line item in front of me. What's the amendment?
The, Mayor, it's coming out of,
Domestic.
the violence prevention and going into the fire department.
We can't do that.
Why?
One of the biggest issues in this city is public safety.
I agree.
Okay. So we can't take money out of an office that we've studied for the last 18 months.
You can't
And
take it out of what? I'm sorry,
we cannot take money out of an idea that has shown to work to reduce violence, when that's the number one issue that you all talk to us about day in and day out.
It's a massive issue, Mayor, but these.
So
Okay.
let me just say this.
Yes, sir.
So when we had community policing, some council members were saying there was a hug a thug, and the hug a thug wasn't working. Right?
I don't think anybody said that. I think that it did work, and it was obvious by what happened across the country that didn't happen here.
There were several on this council since I've been mayor, almost 2 years, not quite, but almost, who said that the hug a thug approach was not working, that we become too soft.
Right.
All right? So that's what was said at the time. So,
What are you saying? I couldn't hear what you said.
now what we looked at was what we looked at was how do you partner with the community policing in order to get out in front of some of the things like we saw this weekend. And what we've seen from national committees, national legal cities of which we're a member, we all are part of the Committee for Public Safety, is that the Office of Violence Prevention serves in partnership with the police. Because right now we ask the police to be social workers, we ask them to be counselors, we ask them to be warriors, we ask them to do all of these things. So the Office of Violence Prevention has been studied, has been recommended as an intermediary to go out into the neighborhoods, to go out into the communities with people from the communities, with people from the streets who are trying to help those not follow their same path, to figure out and diffuse ways that they might retaliate or respond. It's also there to bring a level of connectivity to ideas and programs that many of us know about. And we wonder why we can't get some of the information to.
Isn't that included in neighborhood services, Mayor?
It is not. It's not. Two totally different things. Because the Office of Violence Prevention is done in collaboration with your public safety. It's much different than neighborhood services working with your Queen City Commission or working with the neighborhoods to talk about what they want to see improved. This is drilled down to address issues that are resulting in violence that we see in this community. It's also, again, a resource. It's also to make sure that some of the members of our community who may not know what options that we have, options that we're trying to fund at the city, state, and federal level, are out there for them and how they get to them.
That again, that's neighborhood services.
Not when it comes to violence prevention. Neighborhood services has never and will never serve in that capacity because those job descriptions are not written to ask them to do those things. It's not written to ask them to do a Stop the Violence campaign continuously. And that's essentially what this does, is to prevent, is to get out in front of these issues so that we don't see them on the back end. And right now what we're doing is we're responding. And so then we say, well, why don't the police take a more aggressive approach? And then that creates an issue. That creates a trust issue. So they are acting as, if you will, ambassadors, liaisons on behalf of the city, through our nonprofits, through those who are doing good work in the community, to connect the most at risk, to connect those that are most likely to be involved in some of this and keep them out of these situations. It has shown tremendous amount of results from Newark, New Jersey, to Milwaukee, Wisconsin, to Camden. And Birmingham is entertaining that as well, this same position, because it is something that the National League of Cities and many mayors and council people will tell you, as well as police chiefs will tell you, helps them, because it takes that pressure off of the police, because quite frankly, the police are only going to be able to do so much versus somebody from the neighborhood itself, someone who has been down maybe took a wrong turn and now wants to make sure that another person in their neighborhood doesn't take that wrong turn to go down their path. So that's totally different than the neighborhood services, not duplication. And if you look at the programs and if you look at the job descriptions that are within that, you'll see exactly what it is.
All right, so hang on, Mr. Jenwright. So let me make sure I understand this. So creating this new department of an administrator, an assistant administrator, a secretary, and 2 social workers. If we create this department, and I don't know if Chief Harris is still here, but I would like to know how many police we've got in community policing. Can we take all those people out of community policing and put them back on the street?
No, you don't do that. No,
Mayor,
it's not an either or, it's a both and. You don't replace one with the other. Now, I can share this with you and kind of give you the whole dissertation of it, but you don't take one out and without, it is to complement the community policing that's being done, but it is to bring people from the neighborhood who are not police. Let's be clear, they are not police. They don't report to the police. They are not police. These are people from these communities who are connecting residents with job training programs that sure we know about, and we keep saying, well, why don't they do them? Well, oftentimes they have challenges with transportation. Oftentimes they have challenges with finding out who's going to take care of the baby. They have challenges finding the resources to do the things that they're trying to do. So they revert back. So this department does much more than what we're asking right now any department or any individual to do. And this is starting out, right? So this isn't where I would hope to end. This is a start. So when we talk about public safety and we talk about that being an issue, then we have to be willing to think outside the box. We have to be willing to think in terms of what best practices are being utilized in cities that are dealing with the same, if not worse, challenges than Montgomery. And what I heard y'all tell me in the years now that I've been mayor is that crime is an issue. Violence is an issue. Now, I didn't need to be down here to know that.
Totally agree, Mayor.
So this is what we're trying to do with this Office of Violence Prevention, which is not called the Office of Violence Reaction. We're not trying to react to it. We're trying to prevent it, and we're trying to make sure that we have people in the community, in the streets every day, connecting people with job opportunities, with resources that they need to make it day to day, and with information they need to be aware of, and also to make sure that they aren't doing things onto themselves because they don't have an option. They don't have the hope. They don't have the opportunity. That's what we're trying to do with this, in partnership with the community policing, in partnership with what our nonprofits and some of our organizations are doing in the community. It's both and, it's not an either or scenario.
All right, well, listen, we're gonna agree to disagree on this one, Mayor, but let me share this, and we'll close, Charlie, and I'm gonna call for the vote, but I'm not gonna take it off, and the reason being is, we have a department that's created with our fire department today. We had Chief Jordan standing up here and told us, this council, he didn't want to be the one to have to ask one of his firefighters to stay over on Christmas Day. I don't care if it's one person or 8 people. They are not funded properly, and we're going to create a new department, and you're going to tell me 2 social workers are going to stop 57 homicides? I'm going to vote to give my money to the fire department so one of those guys can go home Christmas.
Well, hold on. We're already giving money to the fire department. That's why we asked for a 14% increase.
I'm telling yeah, but we're giving more people, Mayor, in this budget. They are burnt out. You ask them, they're burnt out. 90% of them have to stay over every single day.
Listen, we certainly understand that. I get that. Totally get that. And I think there are some approaches that we can take to mitigate that. I think there are some approaches we can take in terms of how we staff and how we allocate that staff to mitigate that and the overtime that comes along with that. So I agree with that.
And I agree, and we'll agree to disagree on this one, Mayor, and I respected you on the last one, but I'm going to go ahead, and Charlie, I'm going to ask to approve the amendment, please.
Well, I'm gonna ask that if violence is the number one issue that your resident, one of the biggest issues most of your residents call y'all about,
Absolutely it is.
that we not remove this department that we're starting, that we studied for the last 18 months. Now, anybody could have been on any of those calls and Zooms and meetings I've been a part of with the League of Cities. Anybody could have been a part of that.
Mayor.
But this is something that is very, yes, sir, I'm sorry, Mr. President.
What's the outcomes? What's the outcomes in other cities that you've done this in? And how many people do we have in this particular budget? How many people are here in this budget now? Is that 6 people, 5 people, 4 people, 3? What is it?
Okay.
Can I make a statement?
Yeah, go
Just
ahead.
ask the question.
Yeah.
And just in the spirit of compromise, and I'm passionate with what Mr. Pruitt is saying. I was one of the first ones to question this department when Mayor Reed brought this up about the Office of Violence Prevention. And I know it's six employees that we're discussing, but in the field of compromise, we would be willing to split this department in half and start with 3, and then maybe eventually in another year's budget, we could add 3 additional, because I know we got 2 social workers, 1 director and assistant director, and another, I think it's 2 of each. So, to try to work with the fire department or whatever we need to do with the Department of Violence Prevention, if we can just split this from a $539 to $270,000 to create this department.
Okay.
What's the amount?
But I,
Be half of 539.
What's the amount, Mr.?
Let's say 270,000. Half of 539 is
269, 533.
and I don't know about anybody else, but I like to see the study that's been done for 18 months. I hadn't seen any of that study. What that look like?
That looks like somebody who works full time on this every day, 70 hours a week.
We can get a memo or report or
so
something.
You can get a
Something.
report
I just
anytime
like
you want
see
to.
it. We voted for it.
You can get a report anytime you want to.
Oh, okay, well, I want one.
I just gave it to you.
Is that the report?
Give us a
Where'd you hear that?
give us a black give us a piece of paper, okay?
What you heard? What he said? He's so disrespectful.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
off the amendment. I'm off of the amendment. You can offer yours.
So what we doing?
Okay. We talked enough on this one. We got a.
What you think, Mr. Mayor, about splitting it?
I think you need to take it out.
Look, so,
Sir?
let
That's
me
something
make-
better than nothing.
Something is better. I just want to make sure that we did. I think when we came to you, we cut it down. Let me just double check that.
No, I don't remember that.
May not.
I think you cut it. I think Mr. Calhoun's got a good idea. Okay.
Is he checking?
Yeah.
So what would that be, Ed?
Well, let's try 3. Let's try 3, Mr. President.
Huh?
We try 3.
Okay. Half of it?
3.
Yeah, that's half of
So we
it.
split the department, 63.
Okay. Cut it to 269. That gives you 269 in the fire department.
Go to the fire.
Yeah. It does. Okay. Modify your,
Madam Chairman, can you change it to 269,000 piece?
Yes, sir. Is that by consensus?
It's $269,533 and how many?
50 cents.
50 cents.
Thank you, Mr. Grimes. Quick on the finger.
Got that banker down there. Okay, I'd like to see the study also. Okay, got a motion on the floor to move the budget from 539 to 269, 533 in pennies. Need a motion to adopt.
Mr. President, motion to adopt.
All in favor, raise your hand.
Unanimous.
Okay. Any other amendments? Voting on the main motion, we got a motion to adopt the budget. Need a motion to say, Mr. Pruitt, you say motion to adopt? I got a motion to adopt the
Motion to
budget.
adopt.
All in favor, raise your hand.
Wait, before we adopt the budget,
Question.
yes, I'm saying something, before we adopt the, oh, I'm sorry, was you gonna say something, Chief? Oh, well, come on, talk.
I hear that you're doing a split, so I'm just trying to understand if the split is going for half of that going to Office of Violence Prevention and half of it going to fire, or just reducing the budget overall?
No, half and half, Chief.
Half prevention,
To
half.
violence and fire.
So my question with that is, based on all the numbers that Chief Jordan gave with the fire department and retention and where their numbers are, the police department has that same thing that we're going through as far as the crisis in public safety with recruitment and retention. Probably 50% or better of the calls that they're responding to, we're getting there first to make sure it's safe for them to go in. So when we look at the numbers on personnel, I just want y'all to take into consideration that the police department is also short, and hopefully the 14.5% will be approved, and we can get retention and recruitment back up. But I wanted that to be taken into consideration before you do your final vote on the split with money that you both had opposing sides of the argument on, the money going to reduce violent crime in the city, and that's what police department does, is reduce violent crime. So I think we can share that responsibility, not taking any money from fire department, but I think it's something that needs to be taken into consideration.
So you'd rather have those 3 officers instead of the fire department?
No, she's saying she'd rather have those 3 officers instead of this.
What is your
violence
ask, Chief?
No.
prevention.
No.
What I'm asking is, hopefully the budget will be approved at the 14.5%, and when you look at it seems like that you are presenting an offer for a split budget on fire department versus reducing violent crimes. And then someone mentioned, what about community policing? But in that negotiation process, there was no mention of money going toward the police department. So we hope that you all support the budget, because what the mayor described, the Office of Violence Prevention can work with community policing. Mr. Pruitt asked about our numbers in community policing. We're down to 6 in that bureau right now. It used to be a division with over 20 in its own building. And now, because of retention and recruitment, our numbers are down in that area. So Office of Violence Prevention and what they offer could actually complement the police department in our services. And I just wanted to say that to make sure everybody was aware of that from the police department perspective.
Very good.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Chief.
Thanks, Chief.
Okay, we got a motion on the floor.
Yes, you do,
Go
but
ahead.
I want to say something.
Okay.
Let me say this, so that it'll be on the Facebook Lives and whatever people got going on in here today. We know it, Mr. Boyd, we appreciate you. But, it was, let me say my proposal, what my amendment to this budget was to decrease it to 10% across the board, and then give a bonus, cash money in December to everybody. But
Oh, that's,
That's for the,
please. Okay, now, if you want to stay in here, you got to quiet down. You hear that, don't you? Okay? Quiet, please.
okay, so I wasn't even gonna make the motion, and I'm not gonna make the motion, but because all of the lies that I said no, I never said no to a raise. I only asked, can we sustain it? And I'm so glad that we got a lot of accountants out here, but I just want to make the record clear. If you're going to tell my story, just tell it right. I don't have a problem with you telling it. You can tell it every way you want to, write a book about it, make a movie, but tell it right. I never said no to your raises.
Hey,
Okay. All right.
Hey, Charlie, let me make
Question.
one statement.
All right, Mr. Grimes.
All right, guys.
Mr. Grimes.
We've been up. Everybody on this council wants to get you all the raises we want. I've probably beat this thing inside and out, talked to economists, accountants, beat this to death. I think it's aggressive. Now, if we start growing the budget and we start doing more things, we can get this. But guys, the money is going to be tight. It is going to be way tight about. Hey, I get it. Hey,
No.
here's the
Let's go.
Hey,
Mr.
look,
Grimes, we need to go ahead and get through.
if we vote and we vote for this, I hope I am wrong. I love the city. I hope everybody gets their money. I hope I'm wrong. I hope we make 10 million more we're supposed to make next year. I really do. But as Charlie said earlier, this is aggressive budget.
Okay, let's go.
Mr. President,
Yes.
Mr. President,
I don't
Mr.
know.
President,
Yes, sir. Call for the question.
Mr. President.
Okay.
Pruitt, you through with your amendment? We got the amendment.
Amendment passed.
Yes, we're now, you made the motion to adopt. The motion that we are voting on now is the motion to adopt as amended.
As
Mr.
amended.
President, so moved, we adopt the budget as amended. I move to suspend the rules and adopt the budget.
All in
We don't have
favor,
to-
raise your
We
hand.
don't have to suspend.
No,
the
just a motion, all we need.
Motion to adopt.
All in favor, raise your hand.
Go ahead.
Unanimous, or
Very good. Budget
Mr. Grimes,
passes.
did you vote for
Okay.
it?
Okay, now the next thing on the agenda is the organizational chart. And I think the only thing in the organizational chart that would, it passes as it is.
Yeah, it
Need a
doesn't need
need a
change.
motion to adopt the organizational chart.
Mr. President, move to adopt.
All in favor, raise your hand.
Unanimous.
Okay. Anybody got anything else? Anybody got anything else?
Move for
Meeting adjourned.